There's a skill often left out of typical classical piano training, but really it's essential if you want to progress and become a well-rounded musician capable of doing more than just reading the bare bones that we get with music notation. Now, broadly speaking, this skill is having a practical and hands-on knowledge of music theory, but not just theory that you work on in a workbook or theory that you analyze on a page. No, it's actually theory that your hands know and understand. Now, this is a really broad topic. So today we're going to dive into just one component of this type of understanding, and that's going to be transposition at the keyboard. Okay, quickly, what is transposition? Transposition is taking the same musical material and changing its key or its tonal center, but keeping the function of the harmony and the melody all intact. The simplest form of transposition that you already know is all of your scales. All right, take a major scale, any scale. So here's D major. Okay, right, we know that D major is comprised of steps, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, right? But not just D major, right? All major keys have these same relationships between pitch. So truly, when you shift from practicing your D major scale to your B major scale, you are transposing the notes of the major mode or Ionian mode from one tonal center to another, from D to B. Now, we don't tend to think about scales in this way. We tend to memorize each scale as its own thing. But underneath that is this idea of transposition. And probably your first time playing a new major scale, when you were very first learning them, you used more of the skills around transposition than you may have realized, because you already knew what major sounded like, and you probably figured out by ear, especially if you didn't have a book telling you the notes to play, you figured out by ear what notes belonged with the new key. Now, unfortunately, for a lot of classically trained pianists, that's where transposition training stops. It almost never even gets going, but we're about to change that. All right, enough with scales and exercises. A lot of beginner piano students learn this piece. Right, that's Clementi's first sonatina, Opus 36, number 1, in the gloriously simple key of C major. Now, how many of you have tried playing this sonatina in another key? We're going to talk together about how to take this sonatina in C, the first movement of it, and we're going to play it in D major instead, just to keep this first transposition fairly straightforward, right? But your challenge after this video is to continue to go further around the circle of fifths and try transposing this sonatina to other keys like D flat major or G flat major, or go further and do a little mode mixture. So try playing this sonatina in C minor instead of major. And then how about another minor key? How about G minor also? Okay, we're going to break down transposition into 3 main ways that we're going to think about this. First is going to be relating our scales and our scale degrees to what we see on the page. Secondly is going to be understanding the harmonic underpinning of what's going on the page. And third is going to be our ability to quickly and easily read intervals. Now, through this process, try to do this without rewriting the notes themselves in a new key. Don't score this out in the new key we're working on, right? But instead, try coming to understand the relationships that we see on the page and then apply that understanding and those relationships to a new key. All right, we're going to start with the first 4 measures, and we're going to take it easy and do hands separately first. So, okay, let's figure out what do we have going on. We're looking at the left hand first here, okay? On the original score, we have C, 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 C over the first 3 bars, right? So we're just looking at the beginning of this. First 3 bars. What is C in C major? There are a couple right answers to that. It's the tonic, if you know what that means. Tonic. It's also the first scale degree, right? It is the tonal center. So C, what part of the C major scale is C? What number is it of the scale degrees, right? We have 7 of them before they repeat. C is the first scale degree, right? That's important. First scale degree. Okay, if we want to transpose this and we want to take this to another key, we're doing D, what is the first scale degree of D major? Simply enough, it's D, right? Okay, scale degrees, if we're going to do a little bit of marking on the page, just so we can see all of this as it happens. So whenever we use a number, not a Roman numeral, but a number, and you put a little caret over the top, that means scale degree. So we're saying C, this is the first scale degree. And we're making a note that no matter what key we change it into, this is the first scale degree we're going to play. So in D major, it's now a D. Yes? We're not saying, oh, D major is a whole step up from C. We're not thinking that way. We're thinking about scale degrees. All right. We're not going to go ahead and write all of these because we have a bunch of C's repeated. So in measure 1, we have first scale degree. Measure 2, same note again, repeated. Measure 3, 2 more, first scale degrees. What happens in measure 4? What is G? What scale degree is G in C major? Right? If you know your C major scale, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. G is the 5th scale degree. It's also really important for harmony, but just dealing with scale degrees right now. G is the 5th scale degree. Okay, let's mark that down. We have 5. Put that little caret over the top. Just so we know, this is a scale degree, not a finger number. In D major, what's the 5th scale degree? See why knowing your scales is really important? All right, in D major, our 5th scale degree is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's A. Okay, but instead of going up, we're going to go down to the 5th scale degree. Now, what else happens in measure 4? We have a leap of an octave. So we're getting our first hint at looking at intervals. Leap of an octave. So from one pitch up to the next pitch, the next time we see it, up. Then what happens? Across here to the end of the measure. What is that? The simplest way to describe that is a 5-finger pattern. It's a 5-finger pattern starting on the 5th scale degree and going down to 1. So it starts on 5 and it just goes straight down to 1, following the major scale. Put that in D. Start on 5, that's A. Go down to 1, following the D major scale. There's an F sharp in there, right? This is where this is really handy, because otherwise, if we're thinking about things being a whole step away or something like that, then we have to think about really what's quite a simple passage. We have to think G is up a whole step to A, F is up a whole step to G, E up a whole step, oh, that's F sharp. You would probably first mess that up because you would just think E up a step and you might play F natural instead, and that wouldn't be right, right? But we can skip all of those steps if we just see that this is a descending scale starting on the 5th scale degree. In D, that's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5-finger pattern. Let's look back at the beginning. We're going to play all of this left hand together. So here we go. Bum ba da dum bum bum ba da dum bum ba da 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 dum. That's those first 4 bars plus the downbeat of 5 in D major. Not thinking about stepping or anything like that, just reading scale degrees. All right, let's jump over to the right hand. We're going to do something a little bit different. Okay, look at everything that we have in the right hand in that first bar. And can we block that together? Can you play the whole measure, all of the notes at one time? So there's a C, there's an E, and there's a G. Those are the 3 distinct pitches we have. Play them all at one time. We have that. So first, now we've already changed how we're looking at that bar. It is no longer 5 discrete pitches that go. It's no longer that, but it's one chord shape. And this happens to be C in 2nd inversion. What chord is C in C major? It's tonic. It's the 1 chord, if you know your Roman numerals. It's the 1 chord. So we need the 1 chord in whatever key. We need the 1 chord in 2nd inversion, whatever key we decide to transpose to. If we're going to transpose that to D major, can we block the 1 chord in 2nd inversion? Well, there it is. It's right there. Okay, so if we know all of our, let's say, cadence patterns, we know our chords, and we know the inversions they're in. And we know those for a variety of keys. All of the keys that we know those inversions and how to move around, the more of those we know, the easier all of this transposition gets to be. Okay, so the right hand is this 1 chord. It's Roman numeral 1. It's in second inversion. If you know your inversions, that would be 6/4. That is not counting the bass, okay? Not counting the bass. We're just saying that part. So if you're a theory nerd and you really are into Roman numeral analysis, you would not analyze the whole bar as a 1/6/4. But go with me here. We're just looking at the right hand. Just C with G on the bottom. 1 chord in second inversion. All right. Now, in D major, there it is. Once we know that chord, we can break it apart. We can break this blocked chord, right, apart into its component notes and follow the shape that's written on the page. Ascending, descending, descending, and then the same pitch, right? Going to the second bar, we have the same chord repeat, right there. It's the same thing. So look back at the beginning, and second bar starts to repeat that. Great. Another interval relationship here. We go up an octave. Now, just as a reminder, what scale degree is G? 5th scale degree. So there's a 5 for a finger up there, but we're also going to add a 5th scale degree just to make sure we're in the right place. Okay. Why are we adding that scale degree? Because of what comes next in bars 3 and 4. What is bar 3 and 4? How can we summarize that? Well, if we're back in C major and just reading the score, it is a scale descending that goes past the root, past the 1st scale degree. Has a little turnaround, but everything is stepwise. Okay, so we start on the 5th scale degree, and we read stepwise down the scale, past the 1st scale degree, almost a little trill-like figure, and then continuing down a 5-finger pattern. We're not going to think about this being anything except C major or a major scale with a couple twists and turns, right? But the twists are all just a step apart. We don't need to do any skipping. Let's apply that to D. We're going to start on the 5th scale degree of D. Yes? Now, play down D major scale to the 7th scale degree. Remember, 7 is C sharp in D. Little turnaround and finish the scale. If we know our D major scale, we're going to know that we have F sharp and C sharp. And now we don't have to think about, well, looking at the notes and saying, oh, shoot, this B that we see, here, well, B up a whole step is C sharp. That gets confusing. Just think about the scale. Yes? Let's go back to the beginning. First 4 measures, okay? What are they? Let's start. We have, right, the 1 chord in second inversion. Here we go. We play the whole thing. Scale. Right? Oh, that's so much easier. Can we put both hands together for these first 4 bars? There we go. There we go. Now, we've gotten there completely by using scale degrees, knowledge of harmony. So what we identified a chord, right? We took the first measure of the piece and we blocked it. So we saw all of those notes as one unit, blocked it to find the chord shape and to find really our hand position that we needed to be in, right? Which kind of is synonymous with the inversion that we're playing. We found that, and then we're saying, okay, let's just take that block and we can shift it around to any key, right? So if you didn't want to do this in D major, it's as simple as saying, okay, well, let's go up to G major instead. We're going to use the first scale degree. We're going to start on the first scale degree way up here, and we're going to play G major in second inversion. And boom, there we go. We're already in a new key. As long as you know your scale in that new key, your chords in that new key, right? And the third thing that we started seeing that we're going to see more as we go into the next bit is an interval relationship. The only one we used in these first few bars was the leap of an octave, just to make sure we see that and we know. In the right hand, measure 2 before we start that scale. And in our new key, right? In the left hand, in measure 4 was right. If you want to experience the Pianist Academy difference, and I mean learn music at the conservatory level, but without needing to pass an audition, without spending $100,000 or more, without even needing to leave your own home, check out all of my courses over on Thinkific. They tackle a range of repertoire from beginner through to advanced, but in ways that are typically reserved for those elite conservatory students. You can learn those same secrets and for a tiny fraction of the cost of traditional lessons. So go ahead, check out a course and sign up for a free preview to see a bit of what it's all about. Now back to the video. Let's dive a little deeper in because the harmony here is about to get a little more complicated. And once again, we're going to take the hands separately so we can better understand the scalar and the harmonic fundamentals that we're looking for. And we're going to start again with the left hand because many times if we start with the left hand or start at least looking at the left hand, that can help lead us to a quicker understanding of harmony and a quicker understanding of really the framework that the right hand is working within. So diving into the left hand, we're going to reiterate where we were in measure 5, the last measure of this first line. We already saw we end this little scale pattern on the first scale degree. All right, now we have a lot of single notes in the left hand that are coming up after this. So let's think about interval relationships. Let's do a lot of thinking about that. From the first scale degree, across the line to the next bar, what is that? How far have we traveled? Well, up an octave. We're still on the first scale degree. Good. Let's think really quickly this time. The last note that's printed in the score of measure 6, this measure, the first measure of the second system, is an F sharp. How does F sharp relate to G? Because if we try to purely think about, well, how far away is F sharp from C, that might get confusing. But how far away is F sharp from G? It's just a half step, right? As we continue looking through these measures, we're going to actually find out that very quickly, this piece has tonicized. It's a fancy word for just saying that this piece is now sounding like it's functioning, working in G major instead of C. It hasn't modulated, key signature hasn't changed, but we're tonicizing G major. What is the leading tone in G major? Leading tone is a really important theoretical thing to know. The leading tone in G major is the 7th scale degree. What is the 7th scale degree in G? 1, 2, 6. Ooh, it's F sharp. Interesting that Clementi introduced an F sharp here before cadencing us on G about a measure later. Okay, now if we think about that, leading tones are always a half step below tonic, a half step below the first scale degree, right? Okay, what about in our new key? What about in D major? The 5, the 5th scale degree of D was an A, right? What's the leading tone of A? G sharp. No, look at our A major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, if we also recognize that, we can say this movement from D, the first scale degree at the beginning of the bar, we're jumping down to a G sharp because we need the leading tone of A. Okay, now go back to reading interval relationships. We have a descent of a 5th, right? Perfect 5th. Then we go up by step or second. Of course, that's perfect 5th major second. Down by octave. And then up. This would be back to what we're feeling as the tonic, or what we're feeling as the first scale degree, but in C major it's 5. You can think about it in either way. So we'll put in parentheses, this is the 5th scale degree. But truly, we're actually hearing it now as 1, the first scale degree of G major. G major on the score, A major in our new transposition. That's going to be important when we look at the right hand, thinking about this as the first scale degree now. Hope this is all making sense. Okay, let's go back and let's play from measure 5 through everything we just did. Let's do it in our new key. Starting on the first scale degree of D, there's D. We leap up an octave into the second line. Now we need that leading tone of A, G sharp. Now up by step, down by fifth, up by step, down by octave, up by fourth. Let's do it in time and in rhythm. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4. Dum, da, da, dum, bum, 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 bum. If you know the piece, you also know that sounds right. Yes, it still sounds like major. It still sounds like that left hand pattern that we all know and love from this piece. Let's take a look at the right hand. Let's start with that same principle we used right at the beginning. We blocked the measure together and we said what's written here is, it's the 1 chord in second inversion. Great, transpose that up to D. The 1 chord in second inversion. What happens? First measure of the next line. Well, that's still the 1 chord, but now it's in root position. What's a root position D major chord? Right there. So this is 1. We're just going to call it 1 in root position, or that's blocked, broken. Oh, good. Okay. Now, over the coming bars, we can see we're going to read a lot of intervals here. Skip down of a third, right? Up a step. Down a third, up a step. Down a third, up a step. Down a third, up a step. Then down some other amount. There's an accidental there. We're not going to let that confuse us. It is down a third, but we might not know exactly how far down when we're in our new key, right? We're going to talk about that in a second. First, just follow everything else. There are no accidentals in this piece in C, which means this entire passage follows the tones of the scale. We would call those the diatonic pitches. Okay, so in D major, we're going to start on the third scale degree of D. Our 2 sharps in D, remember, are F sharp and C sharp. Now, if we just follow the scale degrees down by third, up by step, down by third, up by step, down by third, up by step, down by third, up by step. Now we've gotten to that last note. We have that F sharp. If we're still following only the diatonic tones in D, we would play a G. We know right away that doesn't sound right. Yes? Okay. This is where that knowledge of what happened with F sharp in the left hand that we got introduced to previously, that's important. It's the leading tone of our 5th scale degree. G sharp it turns into. Yes? Now the 3rd bar of this line, this turns into purely a major scale built on the 5th scale degree. Right? But if we hear that as 1 instead, this turns into A major. And if you know your A major scale, you don't have to think at all about the entire rest of the bar. Let's go back. Let's try the right hand. All of this together, nice and slow. So back to bar 5, end of the first line. Remember, it's the 1 chord in second inversion. There it is blocked. Here it is broken and in rhythm. Now switching to root position, D major. Now starting on the 3rd scale degree and following our intervals. Down by third, up by step, 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 to the leading tone of A, and then A major. Let's play that again, but in tempo this time. Great. Yes? Now, put both hands together. Left hand is starting on 1st scale degree. Remember, we've got this leap of an octave to the leading tone of A. Down by 5th step, down by octave, up by 4th. Try it all together. Let's go back to the beginning. Can we play that whole thing through? This is about the first 8 measures of the piece. Can we play it all through? trying to think about all these different things. Okay, we're starting. Both hands together. First scale degree in the left hand, first scale degree in the right hand, but our chord blocked in second inversion. Here we go. Same thing again. Leap of an octave in the right hand. Now just a scale with some turnarounds to the fifth scale degree, and then leap an octave in the left, scale down. Keep going. Back to where we started. Left hand leaps an octave. Root position, right hand. Now we have that alternating. We're reading all intervals here. Following diatonic to that leading tone, and then our A major scale. And on. Yes. All right, let's sum this up, because transposition in itself is a great skill to have. But in getting there, in learning how to transpose, you need to first develop a great understanding of what it is that you're actually looking at in the score in the first place. The score isn't just notes that we identify by letter that has some rhythms attached, right? No, it has so much more, and it's already right there on the page for us. There's harmonic relationships, there's understanding linear and scalar motion, and making sure that you know your scales and that you know when you see one, or that you know when you see part of one on the page. And there are interval relationships in abundance. Now here's the real gem that's buried in all of this that we just talked about, and thanks for watching all the way to the end of this video. If you can learn to see all of these relationships that we talked about, and you can see from measure to measure to measure, you are going to boost your ability to sight read by a massive amount. You will become a stellar sight reader, because sight reading quickly and accurately has a lot to do with seeing these big picture relationships. All right, remember the challenge from the beginning of this video. Finish transposing this in D major, be able to play the whole thing in D major while you read the score in C, the original score, and then try another key. Now, especially if you're only going to try this one more time with this piece, can you play this in C minor instead of C major? Try changing the mode from major to minor. All right, that's all for today. I'm Charles Szczepanek, and you've been watching Pianist Academy, where we make elite piano concepts simple and attainable. If you're interested in knowing why hands-separate practice isn't always the best way to go, check out this video right over here. Practice smarter, not harder, and I'll see you next time.